Hey, boys and girls, it's Mr. Mac. Today we're working on Module 8, Lesson 6, wrapping it up almost here. Interpreting fraction multiplication as scaling. Sounds like something you've never heard of, but it really isn't anything more than we've talked about pretty regularly. So I'm going to jump right into the first example and kind of go over what it means to talk about fractions as scaling. So it says, I can explain how the size of the product compares to the size of one factor. So when we talk about factors, we're talking about the numbers we're multiplying, right? And then the product is the answer to the multiplication problem. So this one says the painting shown is resized to 3/4 of its original size. How does the height of the resized painting compare to the height of the original painting? Is the height of the resized painting more than or less than 3/4 foot? Okay, so we're looking at this problem. We're saying, okay, they resized the picture, and now this is 3/4 of the original picture. So when we're looking at 3/4 of something, then we're talking about 3/4 of the original. So 3/4 of one. Okay, we took the whole and we made it smaller, right? We resized it to be 3/4 of the size. If it is 3/4 of the size, it is a fraction of the size. So when we say it is a fraction of the size, that means it is smaller. Anytime you're multiplying by a fraction, your answer is going to get smaller. It doesn't matter what you're multiplying. Okay. If you multiply by a 3/4, let's say we have 3/4 here, and let's say we multiply that by 9/10, whatever. Okay, we know that our answer is going to be less than 9/10. How do we know that? Because we're multiplying it by a fraction. We're saying we want a part of the 9/10. And if you're talking about a part of 9/10, it has to be smaller than 9/10. So on this example, we're doing 3/4 of 1. That means it is smaller than 1. Okay, so when you multiply something by 1, it stays the same. If you multiply something by less than 1, it's going to be smaller. And if you multiply something by greater than 1, it's going to get bigger. That's the idea of scaling, is knowing that multiplying by 1 is the same, multiplying by less than that gets smaller, multiplying by more than that gets bigger. So the question here is saying, is the height of the resized painting more than or less than 3/4 of a foot? So if we're finding 3/4 of that, it's going to be less than that. The regular painting, the original painting, is greater than 3/4, okay, because we made it smaller. Right? So if we look at this example over here about the hockey puck, it says a roller hockey puck typically weighs 1/4 pound, and an ice hockey puck weighs 3/2 or 3/2 times as much. Now, this is an improper fraction. We know that improper fractions are greater than 1. So we're multiplying 1/4 by greater than 1. So I know that my answer is going to have to be greater than 1/4 because we're taking 1/4 and we're multiplying it by a number greater than 1. Now, I also know that the answer has to be less than 3/2 or 3/2 because I'm taking 3/2 and I'm multiplying that by a number that is less than 1. Okay, so you have to think of it as what are you multiplying a specific number by? If I'm talking about comparing it to the 1/4, it's going to be greater than 1/4 because we are multiplying it by a number that's bigger than 1. Okay, and if I'm comparing to 3/2, all right, it's going to be less than 3/2 because I'm multiplying 3/2 by a number that's less than 1. All right, so let's look at this next example here as well. New skateboard ramp is designed to a new skateboard ramp is designed that has a width of 2/3 of the width shown on the ramp here. Okay, so it says, is the width of the new ramp greater than or less than the width of the ramp shown? Well, we had 5/6, which is shown. We're saying the new ramp is 2/3 that size. That means it is a fraction of that size. So if they want to know, is it going to be greater than or less than 5/6? It's going to be less than 5/6 because you're multiplying that by a number that's less than 1. It's also going to be less than 2/3, okay, because you're taking 2/3 and you're multiplying that by a number less than 1 as well. So we can tell by scaling that this is going to be less than 5/6, and it's also going to be less than 2/3. Again, the biggest part of the lesson is if you multiply a number by less than 1, your answer is going to get smaller. If you multiply a number by more than 1, your answer is going to get bigger. All right, that's the whole idea of scaling. All right, hopefully that helps you guys. Good luck with today's lesson.